Friday. This is Steph Lee, founder of Host Agency Reviews, and the lovely woman by my side is Lindsay Taylor-Lauer with Travel Leaders 365, who hopefully you're familiar with now because I feel like this is maybe your third or fourth. I'm not sure. She's been on the show for quite a few times. So welcome, Lindsay. Great to see you.
Great to see you too, Steph.
We were actually, okay, so one of the things I wanted to tell people is you probably noticed my hair isn't up and you're like, wow, Steph did her hair again. But it's only because I was at ASTA Legislative Day this week. And that's also why I look pretty tired. But before we came on, I was filling Lindsay in on it and we almost totally missed going live. I was like, oh my God, we've got to stop talking about ASTA Legislative Day. We've got to go to the Friday 15. So here we are. But just an update for everybody on ASTA Legislative Day. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop up a article that goes over more about ASTA Legislative Day. So if you're not familiar with it, this will go a lot more in depth with it. We'll also put that link in the show notes. But the thing to know about ASTA Legislative Day is this year it was a huge success. So we had advisors coming in from all 50 states. And that was in big part thanks to, actually, hold on, I have this in my notes here. Royal Caribbean and Virgin sponsored Alaska and Hawaii representatives so that we could have advisors in all 50 states, which is a first, which was so exciting. There was over 260 advisors that attended and hit up again all us for the Minnesota delegation. We did 5 meetings with the legislators, 2 senators, 3 representatives, talking about the different needs. So the things that ASTA was pushing this year were things that needing funding so that in true government form, they created a with this Visit America Act, I think it is. So I'm not super into politics and don't follow all of the acts and different things like this, but they created a position, but there's no funding for the position. And so one of the acts, somebody once said during our meetings was like, you guys aren't really asking for much, because it was things like, listen, there's this new position for travel and tourism. Everyone in the G20 countries has this position except for us. Tourism is super important to the United States. Could we get like $3.5 million to fund this actual position? And they were like, oh, that's not too much to ask. And like some of the other things were really simple, like with airline refunds, that agencies shouldn't be on the hook because we don't have the money. Airlines need to be the ones that refund clients, not travel advisors, and making sure that that stays in there. So really great fun. Please check out ASTA Legislative Day. Go once in your career. You'll probably get addicted and go more than once, but it's a wonderful experience to learn about civics. You get to literally, you're eating in the cafeteria with some of the representatives and the congressmen and women. It's very exciting. So enough on that. The other thing I wanted to, that was all I wanted to talk about. So Lindsay, let's jump into our questions. I am so tired.
No, ASTA is amazing though. And I think if any advisor hasn't heard of ASTA, it's generally outside of Leg Day, which is incredible, but it's basically the lobbying body for our industry. And it's the only one. And it has additional really incredible professional development opportunities, incredible training opportunities. So if any advisor hasn't heard of ASTA, give it a Google and take a peek.
Give
it a little Google or talk to your host agency, because I'm sure they've heard of it, but it's definitely a worthwhile organization to spend some time with.
Yeah, go to asta.org and you'll find all the information on membership. We're big fans of ASTA and what they do for the industry. So, Lindsay, first question for you.
Let's go.
Cyril asks, does an umbrella liability policy take the place for E&O insurance, which is errors and omissions insurance for those that aren't familiar with it?
So I always preface any question like this, which I am an incredible travel advisor. I'm a horrible insurance advisor. So I always recommend talk to your insurance broker to make sure that you have accurate information on this. My understanding is that umbrella insurance is not the same as E&O. There are some critical differences. My understanding is that umbrella insurance doesn't cover issues that arise from your professional activities, which is what E&O would generally cover. So talk to your insurance broker about this, because they're going to have much more intelligent things to say than me. But my understanding is no, umbrella policy is not the same as E&O.
Yeah, and Cyril, I'm 100% on board with that. I just popped up a QR code for our article on E&O insurance or errors and emissions insurance because it goes over what E&O insurance covers because with a name like errors and emissions, you might think that it covers all your errors and emissions. So if you forgot to tell someone that they needed to spell their last name correctly when they were sending it over to you and you ticketed it with the wrong last name, it is not going to cover that $200 change name fee or anything along those lines. So make sure if you're not familiar with E&O insurance to check out that article. But the other thing, umbrella policies are for go above and beyond the existing policies you have, and it's usually for liability insurance. So there is some commercial umbrella liability or umbrella policies out there, but most of them are for personal coverage. So for instance, if you have a $500,000 policy on your house, and then when it burns down, it's going to cost 800,000. If you had an umbrella policy, it's going to cover that $300,000 difference. But it's oftentimes for liability. So if someone falls and sues you or something along those lines, not for E&O, which focuses on if essentially, like our article talks about, the big thing for errors and emissions insurance that you can count on it, why you should have it is for legal. It's going to cover your legal fees if you are listed in a court case, and it's going to cover all your legal fees until you're proven guilty. Hopefully you won't be proven guilty. But so, Cyril, great question on that. Next question is from Jennifer. Jennifer says, hello, I am transitioning from a teacher career and been wondering what jobs might be a good fit for my skill set within the travel industry besides being a travel agent or an advisor. Thank you. Oh, great question.
It is a great question. This one actually kind of touches my soul because I was a school teacher at one point in
You
my
were
life.
too? I was
I
too.
know. It's so sweet, right? And so I find that teachers actually make really incredible travel advisors. But the question was outside of becoming a travel advisor. I think the things that we learned when we were teaching are the things that make us incredible at relationship management, as well detail oriented. We've got a lot of skills in managing multiple fires burning all at one time. So there are really a lot of roles within the industry outside of maybe even the agency function that you might really enjoy, just that people facing. But as far as, skill sets and stuff go, I feel like teachers really lend themselves well to marketing. Teachers are really good at creating those cute little one sheets and all, it's a fun thing. So you can kind of apply that skill set there. But truly in those relationship management roles, I find are where teachers can just shine because you're used to managing so many little different personalities at any different time, and you can really adapt and make it work for anybody. So I think that any of the relationship management roles within the industry that fall outside of that advisory role are fantastic.
Yeah, and a few other ones, Jennifer, that I was thinking, because before I started Har, I was kind of looking at some other positions within the industry. And some of the really cool ones, like a tour guide, is a great way you're getting to educate people about a certain destination, or, if you're touring World War II relics, whatever it is, you get to do a lot of education on that front. And so that's a really fun one. There's also on the cruise lines, I'm forgetting the name right now, but I met someone in the elevator in
The
DC
cruise
that did.
directors,
Yeah, the cruise director. I met one in the elevator. He was like, I noticed your travel advisors. I'm in the travel industry. I'm a cruise director. That's another fun one where you get to do a lot of programming and education. And then on the host agency, the consortia, the supplier side, this might be a little harder to get into, but they do have their education roles within there. Obviously, that's going to be, you have the education background, but not the travel background, which makes it a little bit more difficult. But those are all great options for you. And one thing you might want to take a listen to, I'll pop up the QR code with this, but our other podcast, Travel Agent Chatter, does usually around 60 minutes where we do in depth with one advisor. This is just kind of a fun way to see, because when you think travel advisor, if you might be thinking, oh, everyone does sun and fun destinations, or everyone does FIT to Europe. this is a fun way to learn people that do things outside, like in different corners of the industry, because it's a very broad industry. So take a look at that as well, Jennifer, for some ideas.
And I've also met several directors of sales and different salespeople within hotels, are former educators as well. And so I think it's those, those transferable skills, just like you were talking about, that there's a lot of different opportunities within the industry that really meet the needs of a teacher.
Yeah, exactly. All right, this one is coming in from Kelly. So I understand the downward trend on flights. I'm wondering if agent commission is applicable on international flights originating outside the US. Flight example: business class flights on Swiss or Lufthansa originating from Zurich to New York or Los Angeles. So the fare would either be in the Swiss franc or euro currency. I've been researching this and I'm struggling to find a definitive answer on this. So I hope you don't mind the outreach. Love it, Kelly. And actually, Lindsay, like, you are a great person to answer this because you have a big corporate side over at Travel
They
Leaders
have an
365.
amazing air team. Yeah, I don't touch it myself just because it scares me, but I definitely have a lot of very competent air people. So the answer to this is kind of a non-answer, unfortunately, because it completely depends on who you're using for air and their contracts. Now, that said, I have seen instances in which advisors can claim westbound commission on a USD point of sale. But as far as the foreign points of sale, it's going to be completely dependent upon who you're actually using to fulfill that air.
Mm-hmm. And Kelly, I'm not sure how familiar you are with that, but every agency is going to have their contracts with the different airlines. If it's a larger agency, they might have their own that they've worked out. Otherwise, they might be tapping into their consortiums. Air contracts. I am so brain dead from this week. Their consortium air contracts. So it is going to differ by that. But when you're a part of a consortium or a host agency, you'll have access to these contracts. Outside of them, though, if you're hoping that, oh, I'll just ask each host agency to see their air contracts and I'll be able to choose which one to go through, that is not something that is going to happen. These are very, very not shared within the industry and outside of that agency. So if you have this specific question and it's broad, they might be able to answer it, but they're not going to send you over the contract. So just be aware of that.
It's super legal. Like, I literally had to vet that question with my company ownership. Can I answer this? Is this something I can do? The answer is yes, as long as you're not specific about contracts. So.
Yeah, it's super, super top secret. Well, Lindsay, let's see. If people have questions for you and maybe want to know specifically about your contract in a broad sense, how can they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
ltaylor@tl365.com is my email.
Perfect. And then we are also going to put a link up to their profile on the site where you can read some reviews from their advisors and find out more about their program. And then for co-hosts coming up, we have next week, June 30th, we have Outside Agents, and they will be back again July 14th. I'm assuming it's going to be the co-owner, Chad Burke, but I'm not quite sure on that. It's usually him. And then Fora is going to be July 7th. So make sure to join us. And if you have questions for those specific host agencies, I'm going to put up a QR code where you can submit your questions on there on our brand newly designed Friday 15 page. That's very exciting. And then don't forget, you can also sign up for email alerts so that every Friday at 12 p.m. Central Time, you'll get an email about an hour before with who the co-host is, what the questions are going to be, and a link to join the show. So, Lindsay, as always, wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Steph. I adore you and what you do. You're amazing.
I know. We'll see you at next legislative day, right?
Absolutely. I hope.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next Friday, 12 p.m. Central Time.